So welcome everyone, and thank you for being here on a late Friday evening. Welcome to the Ducati Talent Talk. This is a short presentation of myself. I'm currently head of Innovation and R&D Services in Ducati, but I've been working for Ducati since many years. I started in 1996, just after graduation in mechanical engineering at the University of Bologna. And I started as a structural analyst, then moved to the chassis design department. I was head of chassis design department for 13 years, and since 2019, I'm managing pre-development. So basically, I'm in charge of looking for new technologies and ideas, both for chassis, engine, and electronics topics, and do sort of proof of concept projects. And if everything go well, we can then move the technologies to the colleagues that are involved in the development of new products. My presentation will be organized like that. We will start with a short introduction of Ducati history, then move to the features. I will present to you the model range very quickly, and then some numbers, and finally future challenges in order to introduce you into the topics of interest for the present and the future of Ducati. We were founded in 1926, so next year we will be celebrating the 100th anniversary of our history. It will be a very big milestone for a company like Ducati, and we will be so lucky to celebrate this achievement during the World Ducati Weekend, the gathering that happened each 2 years, let's say, and in Misano racetrack, and it's a gathering of all the Ducati enthusiasts, the so-called Ducatisti. I'm not going in detail in all the milestones that you see here, but I invite you all to visit our museum. It's a beautiful way of learning more about the history of Ducati. One of the only thing that I would like to mention to you is that in 2012 we became part of the Volkswagen Group, and therefore since then we are grouped with companies like Audi, Porsche, Bentley, and so on. And this was a huge change in our organization, let's say, because we moved from being owned by a fund, a private fund, to being part of an industrial, one of the biggest industrial company in the world. Our vision is to be the most desirable motorcycle brand in the world. So it's something very hard to achieve, and we put in our mission how we want to achieve this challenging vision. And we want to give people emotions through our products, of course, and you can see some words that are highlighted in this mission that are technology, beauty, and sportiness, let's say. Those are the three main words that you can also find in our brand values: style, sophistication, and performance. Of course, the development of each new product starts from a stylistic definition, and then we mean with sophistication through engineering and high-end technology, we try to reach the goal of performance, and with performance we mean a very wide range of topics, not just peak power or peak torque of our engines, but also comfort. For example, for a motorcycle like the one in the picture, which is a Multistrada V4, one of the top challenge was to achieve a very high level of comfort, both for rider and passenger, thermal comfort, aerodynamic comfort, because this is a touring bike that is supposed to be used on long range Therefore, comfort is one of the biggest target that you need to achieve to provide the customer with a very appreciated product like Multistrada is. Again, I will go very quickly on those slides. Style, we are very proud to be recognized all over the world for our Italian design. Sophistication, already said, that means engineering and high-end technology. In this picture, you can see a very refined design, single-sided swing arm that we used in one of our latest Superleggera project. It's made out of carbon fiber, and it has got a hollow shape, which is very hard to obtain with carbon fiber in a single piece part like that, with some aluminum inserts. And the goal was to save as much weight as possible, but keeping the performances in terms of stiffness, both torsional stiffness and flexural stiffness, as high as the part that was used in serial production, that was an aluminum casted part, and that was very, very challenging. Performance, I said that it is not just aiming at having a very high peak power, but also and mainly to have a lightweight design, because in a motorcycle it's paramount to have a lightweight design in order to improve maneuverability, handling, and performances in general. And for a sport bike, this means to have the best lap time. Our features. We are a premium brand, and we aim to move the positioning of our brand towards luxury. So, and the reason for that is that we decided to position our brand. We decided that our brand has all the characteristics to be positioned above premium, where it is right now. And we realized that in that area of the market there are fewer competitors. And if you think about, some of you is passionate about motorcycling, you will agree with me that there are not so many competitors in that area of premium towards luxury segment. Italian designer already mentioned that our design is very distinctive. We have an internal centro stile design center, and we have many designers coming from all over the world, but mainly they share the same approach to the design in order to have to get a family feeling on all of our motorcycles. Lightweight, already mentioned. We try to achieve lightweight in many ways, not only using a fancy carbon fiber swing arm, but in the more standard version, we are forced to use other approaches that are compatible to the constraint that we have, like cost. Therefore, is even more challenging than on the high-end products to reach lightweight, considering also all the other constraints that we have. High quality. Since many years now, like more than 20, we are working very hard to improve our quality, because being an Italian brand, of course, we are not famous as Italians for having the best quality. Usually when one thinks of a brand with high quality, German people or Japanese, they are the first nationality that comes to your mind. But we want to make people understand that it is possible to have high quality also here in Italy. And to do that, we are working together with the suppliers and in all the departments of Ducati, because basically quality is built since the very beginning, from design up to the manufacturing of the parts. And yeah, it's a very tough challenge that we have to improve our quality, and we measure our quality counting the number of issues that we face each 100 bikes that are, or 1,000, it doesn't matter the unit of measure that you use, 1,000 bikes that we have in the field, and therefore reducing the number of complaints or claims is what we aim to do in the future. And we already achieved or reached, let's say, the average level of European manufacturers, and we aim to do even better in the near future. Performance redefined, already mentioned before, and this is a chart that I like a lot, because you can see how the sport bike developed throughout the years, starting from the one on the right hand side, the 851, and coming to the latest Panigale V4 7G, 7th generation. So it's wonderful to see how shapes are changed, keeping the red color in the same place, let's say. Our model range. I want to mention that our model range is formed by a motorcycle of various types, starting from, of course, the Panigale that I've already mentioned, the sport bike with fairings, moving to a sport bike without fairings like the Street Fighter, or some touring bike like Multistrada, or cruiser bikes like Diavel or X-Diavel. But recently we started to approach the off-road application, starting from Desert X, which is on the top left. And a couple of days ago, we started the production of our very first professional motocross bike, the so-called Desmo MX 450. And we are very proud to have accepted this challenge to move away from our comfort zone, which is on track and on road, and moving towards off-road applications that are totally different, starting from scratch. And we will see later how was our process that ended up with a series production bike. But Ducati is not just products like motorcycles. There's a lot more around the motorcycles, like event, like the World Ducati Weekend that already mentioned, the Ducati owners clubs, clubs of people joining the same passion for our motorcycles, and the academies that I like a lot, because they are ways of teaching people how to use our motorcycle both on and off road. And there are various levels suited for all types of riders, basically. You have seen during this presentation a lot of red bikes, or a lot of racing red bikes. And the reason for that is that racing is in our DNA since the very beginning of our history. Maybe many of you know very well that we are taking part to MotoGP since 2003 with very, very good result, and especially recently we are in a we are living a beautiful wave, let's say, of success, and we hope that it will continue many years from now. But we are also competing in World Superbike, and in this picture you see Nicolò Bulega, one of our two official riders, in front of Álvaro Bautista, which is exactly what is happening in the current World Championship. But since 2023, we are also the official manufacturers of Moto E World Championship that became World Championship since 2023. And this is a very special challenge that we accepted, which is pretty much similar to what happened with the off-road. We started the development of a racing motorcycle in order to gain knowledge about something that was of great interest for Ducati and for the future. We started from scratch, and we have built a team formed by people coming from production together with people coming from Ducati course, the racing department. And it was a very first attempt of doing something like that, to build an heterogeneous team. And the reason was to spread the knowledge about electrification, let's say, between the two groups. And we will be the official manufacturer since 2026, no, until 2026, sorry. This year we introduced an improvement of the performance of our bike as agreed with the organizer of the championship, and we reduced basically the weight of the bike as much as 10 kilograms, which is a lot if you think about it. So moving from the original 225 kilograms as low as 215. The way in which we obtained this huge amount of weight savings was working on battery cells, together with the supplier that we choose, we are currently using, for those of you that are familiar with cells, the cell size, cylindrical cells, the size is 21,700, so 21 is diameter, 700 is length in millimeter, and collaborating with the supplier of the cells, we managed to improve the performances of the cells, and therefore we organize the cells in another way, and we obtained more or less the same performances and same range, but with less weight. And that account for about 6 kilograms, and the other 4 were due to other modification that we did, or improvement that we did in the vehicle. But the amazing thing is that on this bike, 110 kilograms is the weight of a battery pack, which, by the way, is a structural part. So it's not just a case holding the cells inside, is a part, active part of a frame of a motorcycle. So it was designed and built in order to be stressed by the forces that are transmitted by the wheels, and to react with the required torsional and flexural stiffness again, because frame and swing arm, those are parts that are designed having in mind the target in terms of stiffness, basically. And as I said, we did more or less the same with the off-road project. We started from a racing motorcycle that was developed taking part to the Italian championship last year, and this year the same racing bike was moved to the World Championship, MX1, for those of you who are passionate about off-road. And the end of this 2-year very hard development was that 2 or 3 days ago we started the production of a motorcycle that will be available soon at the dealership. And we are doing the same approach with the 250cc version of the same bike that is currently doing the Italian championship. Next year, hopefully, the bike will compete in the World Championship, MX2, and after that, it will be available on the market as the 450. Some numbers, just to give you an idea of how big is Ducati. Headquarters is in Borgo Panigale, the famous Borgo Panigale. And we have another factory in Thailand, which is dedicated to manufacturing and assembly the bikes that are going to be sold in that area of the world, Far East. Basically, that was our approach to globalization. So instead of moving production in low-cost countries, we decided to increase or to grow our market, building a factory where the market was, which is the Far East. And in Brazil and in Argentina, so for South America, we are using a slightly different approach. We use the so-called CKD, which is a a way of avoiding duties on imports, and to do so we rely on two service providers for the assembly of parts that are shipped from Ducati to Brazil and to Argentina. On the low end side of this chart, you will see the national sales companies. Those are offices, not technical department or production sites, but commercial offices that are used to manage the network, and they are located in more relevant countries in the world. And we will see later, this is a chart, you will understand why we have national sales companies in some countries and not in other countries. The reason is because it is related to how our sales are distributed in the world. And as it is very common, our main market is Italy, being the headquarter in Italy, but sometimes it's not like that. It's North America, which is just 1% above Italy, but more or less the share is this one. Then you will see all the other countries, and maybe you will have noticed that China is far back behind with just 4%. We are being affected by the same issues that happened to the automotive industry, and China is not providing us a result as expected or as in the past, and we hope to change this trend very soon. As I said, we are selling moreover all over the world in more than 90 countries, 96 countries, and the dealership, they are around 800. This chart is not exactly updated. We are increasing the number of dealerships and following the strategy that I mentioned before to move the brand to an upper premium positioning. Also, the dealership are being renewed and organized in a way that they can provide an upper premium experience to our customers. Future challenges. At the end of this presentation, I will leave you some minutes to ask me a question. So if you don't mind, I will go throughout the presentation and then leave the Q&A at the end. Being a part of a VW group, of course, we are aligned to the strategy of the group, and I've extracted just a chart from one of the latest presentation of the strategy, highlighting some words like high-end technology, best technology, artificial intelligence, and sustainability. Those are three topics that are of great interest also for us in the future, and the only answer to how can we manage to address those topics is throughout innovation. And it's not just because I'm head of innovation that I'm saying that, but this is a strategy that is shared from all the company. But of course, innovation, this is a very common way of saying why it's so hard to do innovation, because it's like a funnel, and there are some constraints, the red words that you see here, that are canceling some of the opportunities that you think you have, but in the end you don't have. And so you start from a lot of ideas and you end up with a few of them, because you have to comply with some external constraint. And we will go through very quickly through some of them. Safety. Safety is very, very important for us because we care about the health of our customers, but also because we have seen that is one of the biggest barriers for people to buy a motorcycle, because they fear to get hurt using a motorcycle. So it's mandatory that we act to improve safety, and we did so since many years. We are doing also right now, and one of the ways that we are increasing safety is introducing electronic innovation, like for example traction control. This is just an example, and it's a good example also because it's how we transfer technology from the racing department to production motorcycle. It's not just a fancy phrase that you say to for marketing reason. It's true. It's true, and I have to say that we are very lucky to have our internal racing department that is so strictly connected to the guys working in production. There is a lot of technology transfer happening, and traction control is just an example of what was developed in Ducati Corse and then used in a slightly different way also on production bikes, mainly to improve safety, because if you think about it, you have a motorcycle that is weighing less than 200 kilograms with power in excess of 200 horsepower, which means that without electronic controls or electronic aids in general, an average rider like myself would be in great danger using such a motorcycle. And another example of how we use technology to improve safety is this one, ADAS system. We were the first motorcycle manufacturer in the world to introduce a radar system both on front and rear on a motorcycle. Front radar was used in the beginning just as a sensor for adaptive cruise control, and recently we added a functionality which is for collision warning. And rear radar was used for blind spot detection functionalities. And I would like to use this example also to mention that we work a lot with universities to introduce those innovations. For example, this one, blind spot detection, was developed together with Polytechnic of Milan. And the reason for that is because it's not just that you remove a radar from a bumper of a car and put it in a motorcycle and you're done. You need to develop a dedicated, a bespoke algorithm, because the dynamic of a motorcycle is completely different from one of a passenger car. And we did that together with the Polytechnic of Milan, ending up, and the activity ended up with filing a patent, a joint patent, together with the Politecnico, and we are very proud to say that having the chance to file a patent is the certification that you have really an innovation. You're dealing with a real innovation. In terms of safety, we are also part of a consortium that is gathering more or less all the main players in the motorcycle industry, and we are working to study how connectivity can be applied to motorcycles in order to improve safety. And we believe that connectivity is a very promising technology that has to be introduced together with ADAS system to be very effective. You can think of how connectivity can help to reduce accidents, like if you, for example, are approaching a blind intersection, you can have your ADAS system and your bike equipped with an ADAS system, but without visibility, ADAS are blind, let's say. But connectivity can help you to detect a potential accident that is going to happen at the intersection and send warnings to both the passenger and the passenger car driver and the motorcycle rider in order to avoid an accident. Moreover, I mentioned regulations as another constraint that has to be taken into account. Of course, without complying to regulation, you cannot sell any motorcycle. Therefore, we need to find the best way to be compliant, but without affecting too much style, performances, and cost, basically. And you can see here the histogram is how the quantity, the amount of pollutant is being reduced, moving from Euro 1 to Euro 5 plus, which is the current regulation. So a lot. You can understand that to reduce as much as that the amount of pollutant on the exhaust system, you need to find a way, and it is definitely not so easy. And the same applies to noise, acoustic emissions. In this chart, it seems that nothing happened since the pre-Euro era and until the Euro 5. But instead, something happened. The limits are more or less the same, but what happened is that the number of operating conditions in which you are checked were increased a lot, moving from Euro 3 to Euro 5 plus, which means that there's a bigger range, operational range, that has to be taken into account into the design of your exhaust system. And if you want to have a very nice motorcycle, you cannot have a huge and bulky exhaust system. Therefore, it's a challenge both for the stylish guys, the aesthetic designers, and the mechanical designers too. I'm mentioning those examples just to give you an idea of what are the competencies that are needed to work in Ducati. We have gone through vibration, noise, mechanical design, aerodynamics, electronics, control system. And yeah, I think that this is a good way of giving you an overview of all the competence needed to develop a motorcycle. I will go very quickly on that. This is a European funded project. And the aim of this project is to design, let's say, the regulation of the future, because the European Commission is formed not by deep experts of motorcycle, therefore they need the manufacturers and research centers and university to study what can be a feasible, reliable way of limit the emission both of pollutants and noise, but without putting targets that are not reachable from from an industrial point of view. Sport motorcycle that was already mentioned before. Reliability, we cannot say that it's obvious to say that reliability has to be guaranteed in any way, and for that we repeat a lot of testing, and I've put some picture of fatigue test benches that we have in Ducati that are used in various phases of new product development at various milestones. So starting from the prototype, repeated during the so-called Avant series, then in the pre-series, and then even with the very first part of production. And maybe you don't know that the very last milestone of our product development process is the so-called start of delivery, and it is not start of production. There's a difference of like 1 month from when we start to assemble new motorcycle and when we start to deliver the motorcycle to the dealership. And in this period of time, we repeat a validation test at a Nardò test track that you can see in this picture here, in order to be 100% sure that all the debug was done in a proper way before giving the product to the final customer. And I've mentioned also cost as a constraint for the introduction of innovation. You need to take into account cost, and to manage cost in a proper way, you can use various approaches. Those are some of them. Optimization, we do a lot of topological optimization. Integration, this is an example of how we used the engine as a structure to support the suspension linkage. That was a good idea to have a frame smaller than in the past, because it's not the frame that is supporting the shock absorber, but is the cylinder head itself. We do a lot of co-development with the supplier. I already mentioned that we think that working together with the supplier, strictly together with the supplier, is a good way of achieving some good results, synergies in general. Maybe you are not aware that in Ducati we design more or less all the components of our motorcycle, but we rely on suppliers for the manufacturing. We do in-house just a couple of machining of crankshaft and camshaft. All the rest is done outside, which means that we need to have a group of people acting as an interface between design department and suppliers. And another way of managing cost is, again, with innovation. And I want to mention the so-called monocoque frame that you can see in the picture on the bottom right of this chart. That was an idea, again, coming from Ducati Corse. They developed a carbon fiber monocoque frame, and it's also a patented idea. For the serious production, we decided to move from carbon fiber, for cost reason, of course, to aluminum casting, keeping the concept the same. So instead of having an airbox and the frame around the airbox, we decided to use the frame itself as an airbox. So you can see that there's an air filter inside the frame, and in order to save weight, we decided not to put any cover on top of this frame/airbox. But instead, we are using the bottom surface of the fuel tank as a cover to close the airbox. So a very compact way, we reduced a lot the number of parts, and doing like that, we reduce a lot weight and cost. Sustainability. As a motorcycle industry, we are not forced to comply yet, at least, to comply with very challenging regulation that are being used in the passenger car industry, but sooner or later we will be involved also in this kind of challenges. And therefore we decided to start earlier, and we started with the electric motorcycle that I showed you before, but we are also working on other fields of reducing CO2 emission, of ways to reduce CO2 emission, like e-fuels and hydrogen. E-fuels, it's kind of easy for us to work on that because both in MotoGP and Superbike, since last year and until 2027, they will be forced to reduce the fossil content on the fuels that are used in those championships, and to develop the racing engines that can be run with different type of fuels. We learn a lot, and we plan to use this knowledge for the future when e-fuels will be available also for serial production motorcycle. Hydrogen is another story. It's very challenging to deal with hydrogen. You know very well that hydrogen has a very, very low density, and therefore in gaseous form. It has to be stored at very high pressure, like 700 bars, in order to be in a right amount to provide the desired range. But to store gas at 700 bars, you need to use certain type of certified tanks that are not suitable for a motorcycle. They are cylindrical and very bulky. And if you think about it, it's not possible also to use it in a liquid form, because hydrogen is liquid at a cryogenic temperature. Therefore, you need to cool down hydrogen very much. So it will be another challenge to have such a cooling system and to store the cooling system and to have a very lightweight design using liquid hydrogen. So my opinion is that the equation is not yet solved for using hydrogen in motorcycles. Again, the electric motorcycle that we have now is a racing motorcycle, but we are planning to develop a commercially available sport motorcycle that can provide the same emotion that you can have using a current Panigale. But we think that technology is not mature right now, especially battery cell technology. So we are kind of waiting the right time to enter the market with a very emotional product that can have both a lightweight design, a reasonable range, and so we don't think that that will be next year, but in future years you will see for sure something coming from Ducati also in this field. Sources of innovation, we are more or less at the end. Suppliers, racing, automotive being part of the VW group, universities and startups. Startups, I mentioned startup at the very end because we are just beginning to work with startups. We are not very well trained to work with startups, but we realize that they are a very good source of innovation, and we would like to work more and more with startups in the future. Sources of talents, you know very well that we are founding members of MUNER, Motor Vehicle University of Emilia-Romagna. Therefore, we are working a lot to tune the curricula in order to be suited to train the talents that can come in Ducati and work in one of the various departments of the company. There is a special curricula dedicated to the people that like to, in the future, to work in Ducati, which is called Advanced Motorcycle Engineering. And I suggest to have a look, if you haven't done it yet, to the Motor Vehicle University of Emilia-Romagna website to learn more about that curriculum. Another source of talents is, of course, Moto Student, because we are a title sponsor of Moto Student for the University of Bologna. We started our, let's say, the approach towards electrification with them back in 2017. It was, 2017. And since then, we are supporting them in the development of the racing prototype that they run in Aragon, and they will have a competition this year in October. But since last year, we are also supporting Formula Student or Formula Sci, whatever you call it, providing them with a single-cylinder engine that is the one that we use in our hypermotard, so a 698 cc desmodromic single-cylinder, strictly derived from the twin that we had in our past product range. And we will see, because it's just the beginning of a project, but we will soon see the car running, and hopefully it will be successful as the Moto Student. Final remarks, and then it's your turn for questions. So basically what we have said is we need to push on innovation. And there are a lot of new topics, and to address those new topics, you need to work together with many parties like suppliers, universities, research centers, startups, etc. We are constantly looking for new talents and competencies, and therefore we like a lot to use internships to work, to get to know students and to understand if what we can offer to the students, young students, is suitable or suit their needs, and vice versa, if they are suiting what we look for in a talent, which is passion, because you need to be passionate about what you do, to do it at 110%. And if you want to learn something more about the chances of starting an internship in Ducati, you can find some information in the Motor Vehicle University website, but especially in our website, there's a dedicated area dedicated to the open job position, but also internship position, the so-called Lavora con noi, work with us, and it's updated, and if you don't find anything that suits you, you can, in any case, upload your CV, and it will be for sure analyzed very carefully, and hopefully you will become soon part of a Ducati team. With that, I've finished, and I'm open for any question you have.
Everyone, I'm just reminding you that the speaker won't be able to stop for the one-on-one later, so we'll do a few questions now, and then we'll be letting him proceed, okay? Thank you.
Bye.
Hi Simone, thank you for your presentation. I have more knowledge on race car vehicles rather than motorbikes, and my question is about aerodynamics. So the winglets on the front of the bike are fixed, and they generate downforce, but when cornering and the bike is leaning, that downforce is not generated towards the ground, but towards the side. So how does that work? Wouldn't that, in my ignorance, that would generate lift towards the outside of the corner? So how is that optimized?
There is a very strong department dedicated to aerodynamics, both from a simulation point of view and an experimental point of view, that has studied a lot how the winglets behave while the bike is leaned. You don't have to think about that the flow around the motorcycle is the same if a bike is standing on a straight and if it is lean. There's a very complex and not, let's say, obvious flow around the motorcycle, so it's hard to explain without any picture what is happening around the motorcycle, but the effect of the winglets is not so powerful when the bike is leaned, so it's kind of designed in order to stall, let's put it this way, when the bike is leaned. Therefore, the loads generated by the winglet itself is much lower than what you get when you're running on a straight. I hope that it makes sense. Huh?
Thank you. Yes.
Don't be shy. I'm available for you, and I will answer any question you have, all curiosity or... and I have also the support of some of my colleagues if there are some questions that I don't know how to answer. Also in Italian, se volete.
At this point, I'll do another one, still concerning aerodynamics. Do you develop your own codes, or do you use industry-led softwares for computational fluid dynamics?
For aerodynamics, we have developed a proprietary, let's say, customization of OpenFOAM, which is an open source, maybe you know it. But we are using we are comparing the results of many different softwares in order to find the best compromise between computational time and resources needed for computation and accuracy of the results, if it makes sense.
And for a student who is still studying, that is interested in aerodynamics, what software would you recommend them to spend the most time within? That would be closest to your software.
OpenFOAM is a good starting point, but of course there are so many, how can I say, customization that we did following what happened in the wind tunnel, because we do a lot of correlation. Otherwise, we will not get what we want from simulation, and usually it's better to sort out all the ideas virtually and then use the very expensive wind tunnel hours just to do the final top 3, let's say, choice.
Understood. Thank you.
So I have a question for the manufacturing process, because you tell that is outside, but some part is in Sant'Agata di Bolognese, and
no, Borgo Panigale.
Borgo Panigale. Sorry, today too much information today.
Esatto.
And so I saw a position of lean manufacturing, but is in Bologna. So what is the type of work that you can do in the process in Bologna?
If I got the question properly, what I mentioned is that we rely on suppliers for manufacturing of, let's say, 98% of the parts of a motorcycle, and we have just some automated machining islands in Ducati for the machining of crankshaft, steel crankshaft and steel camshaft, and the raw part they come from outside, and we do all the machining. In any case, there's a group of people dedicated to organizing manufacturing and assembly and it's very challenging, to be honest, because the company is quite small, and we have if you compare the size of a company with the output and the level of automation is again a little bit low, because for 54,000 units divided into 9 product families, you cannot use automation as for the manufacturing of millions of cars, for example, all of the same, we're sharing the same platform. Therefore, we have to push on small automations, a lot of labor and a lot of workers. If you will visit the company, which is open for visiting also the assembly lines, you will see a lot of people working on both engines and chassis and vehicles. But the challenge is to I'm going to say balance the amount of operation that are done in-house, depending on how much space you will have available. So the layout of a factory is very flexible, and it is being changed depending on the product that we are currently assembling or manufacturing, let's say. I don't know if the question was in line with your expectation.
Sì, grazie mille.
Faccio una domanda in italiano.
Vai.
Allora, ho visto che è uscita la nuova Ducati da cross, la 450, e ha una trazione, so che è diversa, nuova.
Scusa, e ha una?
Ho saputo che avete sviluppato un nuovo controllo trazione.
Sì, certo.
Come funziona?
come funziona?
Cioè, come funziona? Cosa
Allora,
è cambiato?
partiamo da questo, è brevettato,
Ok,
quindi
quindi
già
non
questo
si
ti
può
fa capire
sapere.
che non è che posso entrare in
Vabbè,
tutti i
però-
dettagli, oppure non appena il brevetto sarà pubblico, cioè tra 18 mesi dalla pubblicazione, sarà insomma, consultabile, diciamo così. Allora, lì la sfida è stata che non è possibile utilizzare, cioè sono vari i problemi, diciamo. Allora, uno è il livello di attrito e quindi di aderenza tra pneumatico e fondo, che è completamente diverso da quello che si ha in un'applicazione stradale ed è molto variabile, quindi anche quello pone una complicazione non indifferente. E l'altro è che non si hanno a disposizione tutti i sensori che hai su una moto stradale, quindi c'è stato bisogno di sviluppare degli algoritmi un po' avanzati per stimare le grandezze che non potevamo misurare perché non c'era il sensore, semplicemente, e quindi non è basato sull'approccio tradizionale, cioè controllo la differenza di velocità tra la ruota anteriore e la posteriore, se rilevo uno slittamento taglio la coppia, la dico semplice. È una cosa decisamente più sofisticata che parte da delle misure di accelerazione e adesso non è che posso spiegarlo proprio nel dettaglio, però insomma diciamo così un approccio molto innovativo è dovuto al fatto che bisognava far fronte all'assenza di alcune grandezze che normalmente si hanno a disposizione nelle applicazioni stradali per tarare questo controllo.
Quindi un lavoro un po' più di prevenzione,
Sì, ma è chiaro che è stato messo a punto dai piloti ufficiali, quindi a un pilota ufficiale tu gli devi dare una cosa che gli permette di andare più forte che se non ce l'avesse, altrimenti non la usa, ti dice toglila, lascia perdere. E quindi è stato molto sfidante perché le aspettative erano altissime. Tipicamente abbiamo fatto anche dei confronti con moto della concorrenza e i sistemi della concorrenza, adesso non è per parlare male dei concorrenti, ma non sono stati particolarmente apprezzati, ecco, dai nostri tester professionisti. Mentre invece il nostro sistema è stato apprezzato e se avete letto un po' gli articoli che sono usciti in seguito alla presentazione stampa, tutti sono rimasti stupiti di come un controllo di trazione possa essere efficace per farti andare più forte, soprattutto su dei fondi così variabili e a bassa aderenza. Ecco.
Va bene, grazie.
Ultima, vai.
I have a question from a bike dynamic point of view. I was wondering which software, if you can tell us, and in general, how do you manage to study bike dynamic, and if you have like a professional simulator, dynamic simulator.
Mm-hmm. As for aerodynamics, the main experts that we have in terms of motorcycle dynamic simulation, they are part of Ducati Corse, the racing department. So there's a huge competence developed in more than 20 years of studying. We are using Adam's motorcycle, but with a very, very customized approach. So you cannot buy the software and build your own model and say, okay, it's the same that Ducati Corse is using, because there's a lot of work that has to be done in order to get reliable information from a motorcycle dynamic software. Basically, the biggest issue are the tire modeling, and correlation, more or less similar to CFD, but with more complexity due to the fact that you are not the manufacturer of the tires, and the tire manufacturer, they do not want to share with you anything. Therefore, you need to build your own model to test different conditions with a bike lean, and again, the testing laboratory were very, very expensive, and you cannot find them each corner, let's say.
Thank you.
Grazie.